Move your truck, or I'll have it towed. Vanessa Whitmore stood in the middle of my private road with one hand on her hip and the other pointing toward a brand new HOA sign. Silver Creek residents only. Off-force access. I looked past her. 48 hours earlier, that road had been gravel. Now it was covered in fresh black asphalt, new white edge lines, reflective markers, even a speed limit sign. The HOA had paved nearly half a mile of my property while I was out of town, without asking me, without calling me, without owning a single foot of the road. I looked at Vanessa. Who authorized this? I did. You paved my road? The HOA improved a community access route. It isn't a community road. It serves the community. That doesn't make it yours. Vanessa gave me the smile she used whenever she thought the conversation was already over. The association has maintained access here for years. You cannot suddenly interfere with residents. I'm not interfering with anybody. You're parked in the roadway. My roadway, she laughed. You keep saying that as if it matters. It mattered. Because what Vanessa apparently didn't know was that Silver Creek's recorded easement gave its residents permission to cross only the first 900 feet of my road. After that, their legal access turned east onto a narrow lane the developer had abandoned years earlier. The beautiful stretch Vanessa had just paved? Mine. And the final 300 feet connecting Silver Creek to County Route 18? Also mine. The HOA had been using that section as a shortcut for years because I had never made an issue of it. Vanessa mistook courtesy for ownership. Then she spent $38,000 of HOA money paving it. 3 days later, she sent me a violation notice ordering me not to obstruct Silver Creek community property. That was when I hired a surveyor. And when the new boundary stakes went into the ground, Vanessa finally learned something her own attorney had apparently never been asked to check. I didn't just own the road she paved. I owned the only convenient western exit Silver Creek had been using for 12 years. And the HOA had no recorded right to that part of it. Vanessa stared at the survey, then at me. You can't close this. I haven't closed anything. Then what are those posts for? I looked toward the crew installing a new fence 20 feet inside my property, to make sure nobody confuses permission with ownership again. Her face changed, but that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that Vanessa had already promised 73 homeowners that the road belonged to the HOA, and she had spent their money proving how little she actually knew about it. My name is Ethan Walker. I was 47 years old, and I owned 34 acres outside Millhaven, Tennessee. The property had belonged to my family since 1989. My parents bought it when the area was mostly pasture, woods, and cattle fencing. There was one gravel road running through the western side, Walker Road, nothing official about the name. My father put a wooden sign at the entrance when I was a kid, and eventually everyone started calling it that. The road connected our house, barn, and workshop to County Route 18. For years, we were the only people using it. Then Silver Creek was built. The development started on former farmland north of us. The developer planned 80 homes, a clubhouse, walking trails, and 2 entrances. The main entrance was on Meadow Lane to the east. The second was supposed to connect to County Route 18 through land bordering ours. That connection became complicated. The developer couldn't acquire one parcel, so they negotiated with my father. Silver Creek received a limited access easement across part of Walker Road. The language was specific. Residents could use 900 feet of our existing road to reach a separate access lane running east toward Silver Creek. My father didn't love the idea, but the developer paid for drainage improvements, resurfaced part of the gravel, and agreed that ownership remained with us. Most importantly, the easement ended before the final western section of Walker Road. That last section remained private. No public dedication, no HOA ownership, no general access easement. Over time, however, the developer's separate lane deteriorated. Then a drainage culvert failed. Residents started continuing straight along Walker Road instead. It saved several minutes. My father tolerated it. After he died, I tolerated it too. People waved. They drove slowly. Nobody caused trouble. As far as I was concerned, there was no reason to turn neighborly convenience into a legal battle. Then Vanessa Whitmore became HOA president. Vanessa was 52. She had dark blonde hair, an expensive-looking red blazer, and no glasses. She carried a tablet everywhere and spoke like every sentence belonged in meeting minutes. Our first real conversation happened about 8 months before the paving. I was repairing a fence when a white SUV stopped beside me. Vanessa lowered the window. Are you Ethan Walker? Yes, I'm Vanessa Whitmore, Silver Creek HOA president. Okay. We've received complaints about potholes on the west access road. I looked behind her. Walker Road? If that's what you call it, that's what everyone calls it. Well, residents are reporting damage to vehicles. Which section? The section connecting Silver Creek to County Route 18. That's private. She smiled. Yes, Silver Creek maintains it. No. Her smile disappeared. Our records show continuous community use. Use isn't ownership. The HOA has maintenance obligations. On the easement section, the entire access route functions as one road. That doesn't make it one legal parcel. She tapped something on her tablet. We may need to schedule resurfacing, not on my property. Mr. Walker, I'm trying to solve a safety issue. Then fix the section you're legally responsible for. She looked at me for a moment. You're making this unnecessarily complicated. No. The deed made it complicated 30 years ago. That was the first time Vanessa heard the word deed. She didn't ask to see it. That should have been her first move. Instead, she drove away. A week later, I received an email from Silver Creek Management. Note of roadway maintenance review. It referred to Walker Road as Silver Creek West Access. I replied. The western section of Walker Road is privately owned. Please provide any recorded instrument establishing HOA ownership or maintenance authority beyond the existing limited easement, the HOA. A treasurer, David Kim, replied the next morning. Thank you. We will verify the recorded easement before scheduling work. Vanessa replied 6 minutes later. Historic continuous use establishes the association's access interests. That wasn't the same thing as answering my question. I saved the email. For the next few months, nothing happened. Then signs appeared. Silver Creek West Entrance 1 was placed on HOA land. The second was placed 15 feet inside mine. I removed the second sign and leaned it against the Silver Creek fence. Vanessa emailed me before sunset. Removal of HOA traffic control device, I responded. It was installed on my property without permission. She wrote, the association disputes your interpretation of the boundary. I sent her a copy of the recorded survey. She never responded. 2 weeks later, new reflective markers appeared along the road. I removed the ones on my land. Then a speed limit sign. Same thing. It became almost childish. Vanessa would install something. I would move it back across the property line. Then she would send an email accusing me of interfering with HOA operations. Finally, David called me. Ethan, I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. I told her we need a title review. Good idea. She believes long-term use gives us broader rights. Then your attorney should explain the difference between use and ownership. He sighed. I'm working on it. That was the last conversation we had before I left town for 4 days. When I came home, Walker Road wasn't gravel anymore. I knew something was wrong before I reached my driveway. The road looked too dark, too clean. Then I smelled asphalt. I slowed down. Fresh pavement stretched from the Silver Creek, turned all the way toward County Route 18. I stopped. There were painted edge lines, reflectors, new signs, even drainage work along one shoulder. I sat in my truck for a few seconds trying to understand what I was looking at. Then I saw Vanessa. She was standing beside a contractor near the Silver Creek entrance. I drove forward and stopped. She walked toward, move your truck or I'll have it towed. I got out. Who paved this? The HOA. Who authorized it? I did. You paved my road without permission? The association improved the west access route. This is private property. We've already discussed that. Yes, and you still haven't shown me anything giving you ownership. Vanessa pointed at the asphalt. The HOA has used and maintained this roadway for over a decade. Using a road doesn't let you pave someone else's land. Residents have legal access. Across part of it, the route has functioned continuously as community access. I looked at the contractor. Who hired you? Silver Creek HOA. Did anyone provide a survey? Vanessa interrupted. You don't need to interrogate my contractor. He looked at her, then at me. We were given a site map. Can I see it? Vanessa stepped between us. No. That answer told me enough. I took out my phone and photographed everything. Pavement, signs, drainage, equipment, contractor vehicles. Vanessa watched. You're being dramatic. You spent HOA money modifying my property. We improved it. Without consent, you benefited. I didn't ask for the benefit. She shook her head. You're going to complain about getting a free paved road? Yes. She laughed. I didn't. Vanessa, how much did this cost? That's association business. How much? You're not a member. Then I'll ask David. Her expression changed, just slightly. That afternoon, David called me before I could call him. Please tell me you knew about the paving. No. Silence. How much? Another pause. $38,400. For the whole project, did the board approve it? We approved resurfacing the west access. Did you approve work on my parcel? We were told the HOA controlled the roadway. By who? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Did your attorney review the easement? We requested a review. Before or after the vote? Silence again. David, after. There it was. I called my attorney, Rachel Monroe. Rachel had handled my father's estate and knew the property history. I sent her the deed, easement, survey, photographs, and Vanessa's emails. She called me back that evening. Do not block the road tonight. I wasn't planning to. Good. What do they actually have? The recorded easement is exactly what you said. 900 feet, then east along the designated access lane. And the western section? Yours. Any access rights, not in the documents I have. What about 12 years of use? That can raise questions depending on facts and state law, so don't play lawyer with them. Let me handle it. That was why I hired Rachel. She never turned a complicated property issue into a movie speech. She told me what we knew, what we didn't, and what not to do. The next morning, she ordered a title search. I hired a licensed surveyor. Then I requested the paving contractor's information from Silver Creek. Vanessa refused, so Rachel sent a formal preservation letter. 3 days later, I received something else, a certified envelope from the HOA. Inside was a notice titled, Unauthorized Obstruction of Community Access. Apparently, my work trailer had been parked partially along the shoulder for several hours. The notice ordered me to remove all vehicles, equipment, fencing, and personal property from the Silver Creek West Access Corridor. I read it twice. Vanessa had paved my land. Now she was ordering me to remove my property from it. At the bottom in bold, facier d'accompli may resort in towing, legal action, and recovery of association costs. I forwarded it to Rachel. She called me 30 seconds later. Please tell me you're smiling. I am. Good. Don't respond. Why? Because tomorrow the surveyor starts. The next morning, orange stakes appeared along Walker Road, and by lunchtime, Vanessa wasn't smiling anymore. The survey crew started at the county line and worked east. They found old pins, checked monuments, compared plats, measured the easement. By mid-afternoon, the picture was obvious. The HOA had paved approximately 1,600 feet beyond the portion where it had clearly documented maintenance rights. Worse for Vanessa, several signs and drainage improvements were entirely inside my parcel. The surveyor, Mark Ellis, walked the line with me. This is the recorded easement. He pointed toward a stake. From here, Silver Creek's described route turns east, and if they continue west, they're on your property. How far? Until County Route 18. I looked toward the fresh asphalt. So they paved all of it. Mark smiled. Looks that way. Vanessa arrived 20 minutes later. She parked half on the shoulder and walked toward us. What are you doing? Mark answered. Boundary survey. Authorized by whom? I raised my hand. Me. This is an HOA access corridor. Mark looked at his field notes. I'm only marking the recorded boundary and easement. Vanessa pointed toward an orange stake. That cannot be right. Mark didn't react. The monument is here. Our community has used this road for 12 years. That may be something for your attorney. I'm showing you what the recorded survey describes. Vanessa turned to me. You can't close this. I haven't closed anything. Then why are you surveying it? Because you paved it. We improved it. Without asking. We have access rights. Then show them to Rachel. She stared at the stakes. You're trying to trap the association. I laughed. I was out of town when you spent $38,000. You benefited from the work. Stop saying that like it's consent. Then she pointed toward County Route 18. This is Silver Creek's only practical western exit. There it was. Not their only legal exit, their only practical western exit. Silver Creek's main entrance was still on Meadow Lane. But Walker Road had become popular because it cut 7 minutes off the drive toward town. School traffic used it. Delivery drivers used it, landscapers used it, residents heading toward the highway used it. For 12 years, my family's tolerance had turned into an expectation. Vanessa had converted that expectation into certainty. Then she had spent HOA money based on it. Rachel's title report arrived 2 days later. No deed to Silver Creek. No public dedication. No recorded extension of the original easement. No maintenance agreement covering the final western section. Nothing that gave the HOA ownership of the newly paved land. Rachel sent the board a letter. It did not threaten to barricade the road. It did not demand immediate closure. It asked for 3 things. Stop representing the private section as HOA property. Stop installing signs or improvements without written permission. Enter negotiations for a formal access agreement if Silver Creek wanted continued use beyond its recorded rights. Reasonable. Vanessa responded herself. The association rejects your client's attempt to revoke long-standing community access. Rachel read it over the phone. She didn't answer any of the 3 points. No. Did their attorney write this? I doubt it. So do I. Then Vanessa escalated. She hired private security. I discovered that on a Saturday morning. I was driving my tractor from the barn to a lower pasture. To get there, I crossed Walker Road. A security vehicle pulled in front of me. The guard got out. Sir, you can't block HOA traffic. I stared at him. I'm crossing my road. I've been instructed to keep this access clear. By whom? HO. A management. Did they tell you who owns the land? He hesitated. No. I pointed toward the orange survey stake 10 feet away. That would be me. He looked at the stake, then at his paperwork. I'm going to call my supervisor. Please do. 5 minutes later, Vanessa arrived. Of course she did. What are you doing? Moving my tractor. You are intentionally obstructing traffic. I stopped because your guard blocked me. She turned toward him. Have the tractor removed. The guard looked horrified. Mom, I'm not towing a tractor off disputed private property. It isn't disputed private property, I said. You're right. The survey cleared that up. Vanessa ignored me. You have instructions. The guard shook his head. I'm calling my office. Vanessa pulled out her phone. Fine, I'll call the sheriff. I nodded. Please do. That surprised her. 20 minutes later, a county deputy arrived. Not the sheriff. Not a dramatic convoy. One deputy. He listened to Vanessa, then me, then looked at the survey, then at Rachel's letter. Finally, he said, this sounds civil. Vanessa pointed at my tractor. He is blocking an HOA roadway. The deputy looked at me. Is the tractor operable? Yes. Are you working here? Yes. Can traffic pass? A pickup drove around us while he was asking. Yes. He nodded, then looked at Vanessa. I'm not ordering him off property he appears to own. This is community access, then your attorney can address the easement. Vanessa's face tightened. So you're doing nothing? I'm preventing this from becoming something it doesn't need to become. Then he left. The security guard left too. Vanessa stayed. You think this is funny? No. You're jeopardizing 73 families over a technicality. I looked at her. A property line isn't a technicality. Then I walked back to my tractor. That should have been the moment Vanessa called her attorney. Instead, she called a contractor. Again. 2 mornings later, a crew arrived with posts. Heavy steel posts. They started marking locations along the newly paved shoulder. I drove down. What are you installing? The foreman showed me the work order. Traffic control bollards. Authorized by Silver Creek HOA. I looked at the locations, all on my side of the survey stakes. Stop work. The foreman looked at me. We have a signed authorization from someone who doesn't own this land. He looked at the orange markers. Seriously? Seriously. He called his office. Work stopped. Vanessa arrived 11 minutes later. I was starting to recognize the sound of her SUV. You have no authority to stop an HOA contractor. I own the ground he's drilling into. These are safety improvements. Then put them on HOA property. This roadway is under association control. Show me the document. I don't have to show you anything. Then he's not drilling. She stepped closer. You're trying to force us to pay you. No, that is exactly what this is. Rachel offered you a formal access agreement because you're trying to monetize a road residents have used for years. I didn't charge anyone for 12 years. That proves community access. No, it proves I was being neighborly. Vanessa's expression hardened. You cannot take away something people rely on. That sentence stayed with me. Because underneath all the fake authority, she had finally identified the real issue. People relied on Walker Road, and I had no interest in punishing 73 families because their HO, a president, was reckless. So I did something Vanessa didn't expect. I offered to solve the problem. Rachel drafted a proposed access license. Silver Creek residents could continue using the western section. The HOA would acknowledge my ownership. The association would maintain the asphalt it had installed. No new signs, gates, barriers, drainage, lighting, or construction without written approval. The agreement would include insurance requirements and clear language that permission did not transfer ownership. The annual fee? $1, not $1,000, not $10,000, $1. The point wasn't money, the point was paper. A written agreement preventing another Vanessa from claiming that courtesy had somehow become ownership. David loved it. So did 2 other board members. Vanessa rejected it. At the board meeting, she called the proposal an attempt to seize control of a community asset. I was sitting in the back. I raised my hand. David recognized me. I said, how do I seize something I already own? Several residents laughed. Vanessa didn't. She turned toward the audience. If we sign this agreement, we surrender decades of established access. Rachel stood. You have a recorded easement over 900 feet. Nobody is disputing that, Vanessa said, and the rest. Rachel shook her head. Show me the recorded instrument, continuous use. That is a legal argument you can make if you choose. But your board should understand the cost and uncertainty of litigating it. Vanessa looked at David. We cannot allow an outsider to dictate HOA transportation policy. I almost admired the sentence. She had paved my property, installed signs on it, threatened to tow me from it, called security on me, and now I was the outsider interfering with transportation policy. Then David asked the question that changed the room. Vanessa, did you obtain legal review before authorizing the paving contract? She paused. The board approved the project. The roadway had been maintained historically. Did council review the deed before you signed the contract? Vanessa looked toward Rachel. This is privileged association business, David said. I'm the treasurer. Silence. Then another board member, Linda Perez, spoke. I want an answer too. Vanessa's voice lowered. No, the room changed, David continued. Did you tell the paving contractor Silver Creek controlled the entire work area? Vanessa said nothing. Rachel opened her folder. We already have the contractor's work authorization. Vanessa turned toward her. How? The contractor responded to our preservation request. Rachel handed David a copy. At the bottom was a certification. Client confirms ownership or legal authority over all work areas. Signed Vanessa Whitmore, President, Silver Creek OA. The room went quiet. David read it twice, then looked at Vanessa. You signed this? The HOA had access rights. That says ownership or legal authority over all work areas. We had authority. Based on what? The historical use. Rachel spoke calmly. Did you disclose to the contractor that the owner had already challenged your authority in writing? Vanessa stared at her. No answer. Rachel continued. Did you disclose that Mr. Walker had provided the association with a survey before the work? Still nothing. David looked toward me. How much of the $38,000 project is on Ethan's property? I answered. Your surveyor should confirm it independently. That mattered. I wasn't going to turn my own survey into a weapon and demand everyone accept it blindly. David nodded. We'll order one. Vanessa stood. This meeting is becoming hostile. Carol would have loved that line. Different HOA, same type of person. Vanessa gathered her papers. David said. We're not finished. I am. She walked out. For the first time, nobody followed her. Silver Creek hired its own surveyor. Same result. The recorded easement ended where mine said it ended. The western connection to County Route 18 crossed my property. The HO attorney finally issued a written opinion to the board. I never saw the privileged document. I didn't need to. David called me the next morning. We want to discuss the license. The $1 agreement? Yes. What changed? A pause. We understand the risk better now. That was enough. The board scheduled a special meeting. Vanessa attended. She was still president, but not for long. David presented the facts. The HOA had spent $38,400 paving a roadway it did not own. The president had received written notice questioning authority before construction. No title review had been completed before the contract was signed. The contractor had been told the HOA had authority over the entire work area. The HOA's independent survey now confirmed the disputed western section belonged to me. Then David explained the part residents actually cared about. If Silver Creek wanted guaranteed continued access to County Route 18 through Walker Road, it needed an agreement. Vanessa stood. He's holding our neighborhood hostage. I was sitting beside Rachel. I didn't respond. David did. He offered continued access for $1. The room became very quiet. A man in the front row turned around. $1? David nodded. $1 annually plus maintenance and insurance obligations. Vanessa said, that isn't the point. A woman near the aisle answered, then what is? Vanessa looked at her. The point is that signing admits he controls the road. Rachel spoke. He owns the road. Vanessa snapped. According to his interpretation. David put the independent survey on the screen. No, according to ours too. That was it. The argument Vanessa had been using for months disappeared in one sentence. She tried another. Residents have rights. Rachel nodded. Yes. Across the recorded easement. The proposed license addresses the additional section, so he can revoke it whenever he wants. The proposed agreement includes notice requirements and protections for the association. Vanessa turned toward me. This was your plan all along, I finally answered. My plan was to leave the road exactly the way it had been. You hired lawyers after you paved it. You hired a surveyor after you claimed it. You're building a fence to mark my boundary. You're trying to control our exit. I shook my head. Vanessa, for 12 years, people drove through here and I never stopped them. She said nothing. I didn't install a gate. Nothing. I didn't charge residents. Nothing. I didn't send violation notices. A few people laughed. You did. That landed, I continued. You took a neighborly arrangement that worked for 12 years and decided it proved you owned something. I pointed toward the screen. Then you spent $38,000 of other people's money before checking. Vanessa's face turned red. You benefited from that pavement. There it was again. I almost smiled. Then send me a thank you card. The room laughed. Vanessa didn't. The board voted 5-1 to approve negotiations on the access license. Vanessa was the one. Then Linda made a second motion to remove Vanessa as HO. A president pending review of the paving authorization. That vote was 4-2. Vanessa lost. She didn't say anything for several seconds. Then she gathered her folder. This community will regret this. David said, no, Vanessa. We're trying to make sure the community doesn't regret the next thing. She left. The final access agreement was signed 3 weeks later. Silver Creek paid $1. The HOA acknowledged my ownership. Residents retained practical access to County Route 18. The association accepted responsibility for maintaining the pavement it had installed. No new construction without my written consent. Insurance requirements were documented. The boundary was permanently marked. And there was one more condition. The sign Vanessa had installed. Silver Creek residents only offers access came down. In its place, I installed a smaller sign. Private road, Silver Creek AXA agreement, nothing aggressive, nothing insulting, just accurate. A month later, David stopped at my workshop. You know, you could have made this painful. It was already painful. I mean, financially. I know. Why $1? I looked toward Walker Road. A Silver Creek resident drove past and waved. I waved back. Because I never wanted their money. What did you want? For the paperwork, to tell the truth. David nodded. Then he laughed. Vanessa hates that sign. I figured. She says it humiliates the HOA. It has 8 words. Apparently they're powerful words. We stood there watching another car pass. Then David said, you know what the strange part is? What? The road is better now. He was right. The pavement was good. Drainage was better. I maintained it. Residents slowed down because the agreement required traffic controls on their side of the boundary. The only thing that had changed was that nobody could pretend the road belonged to Silver Creek anymore. Vanessa ran for the board again the following spring. She lost. Not by a little. One afternoon several months later, I saw her stop near the private road sign. She got out of her SUV and stared at it. I was checking a fence line nearby. She noticed me. You really needed to put that there? Yes, everyone already knows. That's why signs work. She crossed her arms. You enjoy reminding people. No, you could have just let things continue. I looked at her. They were continuing. She frowned. Until you paved my road. She looked toward the asphalt. You still use it every day and you didn't pay for it. No, she gave a short laugh. So I suppose you won. I shook my head. That's still the part you don't understand. What part? This didn't need a winner. She looked at me. For 12 years your residents used this road. Nobody fought. Nobody hired lawyers. Nobody called security. Nobody ordered surveys. I pointed toward the pavement. You were the first person who needed the road to belong to somebody. It needed management. It had management. By you? By the person who owned it. Her jaw tightened. There was the old Vanessa, but it didn't last. She looked at the sign again. Private road, Silver Creek access by Whitmore. Then she asked, you could still stop us from using it. Under the agreement, both sides have rights and obligations. That's not what I asked. I know. She waited. I said, I have no intention of stopping your residents from getting home. For the first time, Vanessa seemed to have nothing prepared. No rule, no threat, no folder. She looked toward Silver Creek, then back at me. I thought you wanted control. I wanted ownership to mean something. She left. The road is still there, still black asphalt, still smooth, still used every day. School buses don't use it because the district follows the designated public route. But residents do. Delivery drivers do. Contractors do. David does. Sometimes Vanessa does. Nobody has to call me first. Nobody pays a toll. Nobody gets stopped at a gate. Because the point was never to make 73 families suffer for one HOA president's mistake. The point was simple. Permission is not ownership. Use is not ownership. A sign is not ownership. Fresh asphalt is not ownership. And spending $38,000 on somebody else's property does not magically make it yours. My father understood that without ever needing a lawyer. When Silver Creek was first built, he could have refused the easement entirely. He didn't. He gave people a reasonable way through because being a good neighbor mattered to him. But he also put the agreement in writing. At the time, I thought he was being overly cautious. Years later, standing beside a freshly paved road Vanessa insisted belonged to her HOA, I finally understood why. Memory fades, boards change, people make assumptions, and eventually somebody mistakes a favor for a right. Vanessa thought 12 years of courtesy had erased a property line. It hadn't. She thought calling Walker Road Silver Creek West Access changed the deed. It didn't. She thought paving the road would make the HOA's control permanent. Instead, the paving forced everyone to finally check the paperwork. And the paperwork said exactly what it had said from the beginning. The road was mine. Silver Creek could use part of it by recorded easement. They could use the rest because I agreed to let them. That distinction cost Vanessa her presidency. It cost the HOA legal fees, survey costs, and weeks of arguments that never needed to happen. But in the end, nobody lost access. Nobody got trapped behind a gate. Nobody had to take revenge. Silver Creek got a paved road. I got a written agreement protecting my property. And Vanessa got something she probably should have asked for before signing a $38,000 paving contract. A copy of the deed. Every once in a while, I drive home after dark and see the headlights of Silver Creek residents behind me. They follow Walker Road toward the turn. At the boundary, my sign catches their headlights. Private road. Silver Creek is by agreement, then they keep driving. Exactly as they always did. The road never needed to be closed. It just needed to be understood. And after Vanessa spent $38,000 paving a road she didn't own, everyone finally understood it.